How do you top your love for your cat? With a cascade of decadent savory gravy over a mouth-watering mousse pâté. Fancy Feast gems. 2 gourmet pâtés in one convenient pack. Simply peel and plate to reveal a pyramid shape that makes eating delightful and pamper her with an experience as extraordinary as she is. Turn the everyday into the extraordinary with Fancy Feast gems.
The family that vacations together stays together. At least, that was the plan. Except now, the dastardly desk clerk is saying he can't confirm your connecting rooms.
Wait, what?
That's right, ma'am. You have rooms 201 and 709.
No, we cannot be 5 floors away from our kids.
The doors have double locks. They'll be fine.
When you want connecting rooms confirmed before you arrive, it matters where you stay.
Welcome to Hilton. I see your connecting rooms are already confirmed.
Hilton, for this day.
Finished training for the day? Time to fight post-workout fatigue with Core Power Protein Shakes. They're packed with 26 grams of high-quality protein to build muscle and electrolytes to help hydrate. The nutrition you need to help your body replenish, rebuild, and repair post-workout so you can power on to the next one. Champion your recovery with Core Power. Visit corepower.com to learn more.
Tom, what cut of meat are you selecting with your first pick?
With the first overall pick in the Pack Your Knives meat raffle, Tom Haberstroh selects ribeye.
It's the choice. I say this is a non-meat eater. That is the correct answer. A nicely marbled ribeye. This is Pack Your Knives. I'm Kevin Arnovitz.
And this is Tom Haberstroh, and this is the Kevin episode.
This is sort of the Kevin episode. But I think more importantly, headline, like we have our first Quickfire save in Top Chef history. Tom, that is a new stat. You should be keeping the Quickfire save. A contestant who would otherwise in the previous 20 seasons almost definitely go home is saved by their superlative Quickfire performance. We also had Spam. We had canned meat in this episode. And yes, we also have the first challenge where we can honestly say that one of us actually tasted the food, as I was on site in Milwaukee for the Fish Boil Challenge on what was the most perfect late summer Lake Michigan day. It was pretty cool. I got to sample 3 of those 6 dishes. I will tell you about them when we get to elimination. It was a fun invitation. I had a great time. CJ Krawcheck, who was one of our guests earlier in the season, son of Milwaukee, was my companion, and we had a fantastic afternoon by the lake with a 75-degree day, breeze, and constant kerosene generated fires every 20 minutes that incinerated the boiled fish. But Tom, we're getting down to it now.
Yeah, we are. And Kevin, I have one question before we begin this breakdown. Did you get a chance to meet Jeremy Kloboff, the Torch, Mr. Torch himself? Did you actually get to meet the man who did the kerosene?
I stood not far from there, but I did not actually have a conversation with him. No, I did not get to meet the fire starter.
What a shame. What a shame. What a weird ceremonial like cook that is. There's all sorts of questions I have about the experience, and we have our source, boots on the ground, Kevin Arnovitz, will explain all of the fish boil questions and curiosities later. But first, Kevin, I thought this was a really good episode. It kind of struck me that for the first time, we are getting down to it. There were 6 chefs on this episode. We're going to get another one from Last Chance Kitchen. We'll talk about that later. I was a little disappointed with who was sent home here. I got to be honest. We had kind of foreshadowed it last week, the whole Manny thing. I thought he was going home. The Tom Colicchio, you wrote it on the Substack, 5 ways to annoy Tom Colicchio, and a great piece you should go check out if you haven't already at packyourknives.com. I just felt like Manny slid right by with this very, I think I could have pulled that dish off. Honestly, I'm an amateur of amateurs in the kitchen. And it seemed like while there wasn't a glaring mistake on his dish that could have sent him home or some sort of mistake, I felt like that was a third-rate dish, and he, you know what, stays on, the competition, and I felt like Sue deserves to be there. But nonetheless, Manny is staying on board. I don't know, Kevin. I just felt like very questionable elimination. But we have some quickfire and Art Smith to talk about first.
Well, and actually, and I think we should do the quickfire because the quickfire very much informs both the decision the judges made and apparently didn't inform the decision they made in some respects.
Very confused.
Right. Like they rewarded Savannah and basically saved her for winning, but Sue as the only other chef. I mean, it was a very unusual quickfire, and we'll get to it, where 2 chefs finished on top of the quickfire, but 4 finished on the bottom. Tom, it was a meat raffle. First of all, I want your impressions of the meat raffle. Is it a meat raffle or was it really a meat draft?
Meat draft.
And what is the difference between a raffle and a draft?
I guess the draft is if you all were in a line and you somehow earned the top spot in the draft. Whereas the raffle, I guess in the etymology of this whole thing is just you get a raffle, your number gets called, hey, I win the raffle and I get first dibs. So if I had the choice of the ribeye, the Chateaubriand, the chicken, corned beef, lamb, bologna, I think I'm going ribeye, and then a close second, I thought about it, the lamb. But I just love a good ribeye, and if I was a little disappointed in the cook, honestly. I don't know why I'm hating on Manny. I'm sorry, Manny, but it seemed like there was no char or no crust on the outside, and it was, I guess you could do it that way, and maybe marbleization. You might not get that kind of bark on the steak that I really, really enjoy, but it didn't seem like he had that. And then, Kevin, Sue gets the bologna and does a great job with it.
What was very interesting is, again, they were the 2 chefs who finished on top had the lowest rent items, right? Savannah had corned beef in a can. Sue had essentially Spam. It was a spiced meat in a can. I mean, that's what he had. He had Spam. I imagine that Spam is a TM trademark. So, and it's one of those things where we call all spiced meat in a can Spam, but it was Spam.
Yes. It's like a Kleenex, right? All tissues are Kleenex.
It's one of those metonyms that just kind of is stuck, right? And then, as you pointed out, all the high rent cuts, Wagyu ribeye. Dan had Chateaubriand. Danny had some really nice looking lamb chops. And Michelle was sort of like in the middle there. She did like ground, she did kind of like chicken, but it was the high end chefs who, by all accounts, should have had better dishes, right? I mean, like you're sitting with Wagyu up against somebody who's got to cook meat out of a can, and yet I think this is one of those cases where the limitations presented to you were actually a blessing, right? What can you do with Spam? Well, you can put together a nice, a dasarak, which seems to me is a sort of the Korean equivalent of a bento box, right? It's sort of like the lunch box. You see them we have so many great Korean groceries here in Los Angeles at lunchtime. These lovely boxes, and there's usually a protein, and there's usually a little serving of rice, and usually like, some sort of kimchi, and then maybe a veg, and, a cured egg, and that's what he did. But yeah, Manny chose first, had the Matt Wagyu ribeye, and apparently just killed it with acid. And then later on, Chef Art Smith, I think, also said it was very salty.
Yeah, I saw that too, yeah.
But I'm with you. He kind of had one job, right? He had one job, which was don't screw up a ribeye. And yet they somehow found his way on the bottom with a ribeye. And the interesting thing is he's done very well with these proteins, these heavy proteins. He's done extremely well with all season, but not in this quickfire.
My note here is duh. Manny goes with the ribeye. Of course, he goes with the ribeye. Very choreographed move by him, and also almost got him sent home. I thought it would send him home because we were told that the quickfires would be incorporated into the judgment as the judge's table. And of course, I guess we're led to believe, Kevin, that Sue's main dish at the beach was so horrific that even finishing in the top 2 would, in the quickfire, wouldn't save him. It wouldn't rescue him from being on the chopping block.
I had Sue's dish at Lake Michigan, and so I will report. There's a teaser.
Okay.
Stay tuned. Don't go away. I will tell you. There's a teaser for later in the episode. I will share my thoughts about Sue's dish because I ate it. I actually ate it. But I'm with you, right? Like, so interestingly enough, the 3, there were two chefs on the top of quickfire, 4 on the bottom. Both chefs on the top ended up at the bottom of elimination challenge. Manny was the other chef of the elimination, so he was a finished on near the bottom, or on the bottom 4 of quickfire, and again was on the chopping block at elimination. Michelle, poor Michelle, like it looked like she might pay such a price. I mean, serving raw chicken in a Quickfire is about as, I mean, that was, and I say this, I do love raw chicken.
I know.
And I think if you have not partaken in raw chicken, I would have devoured Michelle's jerk chicken nuggets. That's exactly what I want. She's absolutely right. I would have completely eaten it. Raw chicken's delicious.
You would delight in a fried raw chicken?
If you're telling me I get all the pleasures of eating raw chicken and all the pleasures of a yummy, crispy breading, absolutely. I mean, what's better than that?
I'm going with Kristen Kish here saying, yeah, that was raw and that's why I'm not eating it. She straight up refused to eat her dish.
I know. And which again, and I will say this, that, I think you and I both have very conflicting thoughts about this new development where the performance in Quickfire informs your final finish in the elimination. That's it. It definitely does provide drama. Like, you got an additional narrative on the show, right? Which is Michelle. She's been cooking poorly. Once again, has another, God, she's been one of the top chefs all season long. Has run into a couple bumps on the road. Really bricks the Quickfire. Knows that unless she performs, up to standard if she's anywhere near the bottom judge's table, she's going to pay a price. And, so it is doing its job as a narrative vehicle, you got to admit. Dan did a Szechuan Chateaubriand dumpling, kind of like almost like a dim sum item, this lovely rice noodle. But apparently it was too noodly and there was too much crap on top of it. And I guess the meat cook wasn't great either. Seared and cut and diced it. I don't know what the issue was. It actually looked quite delicious.
Yeah, I'll just say this. Savannah with the Spam dish.
Oh, we'll get there.
Okay, fine. Well, I just wanted to say, Dan, with the Chateaubriand. So Chateaubriand is just a pork tenderloin. And so I don't know why you call it that versus just a pork tenderloin. No? Okay.
No, it's more of the steak tenderloin, not pork.
Gotcha. Okay.
So beef tenderloin.
Beef tenderloin. All right. So now I'm kind of thrown for a curveball, because if I have a beef tenderloin and also a ribeye and also lamb, that makes my first answer at the top a little bit more complicated. But you know what? I'm going to stick with it. Ribeye would be my first choice. And I think for Michelle, if that was the main event dish, she's going home. If it was the flip-flop, if she did the Southern bake, the fish boil, which the Cajun style fish boil was excellent. But if that was the Quickfire and then this was the main event, she's going home. And I feel like when we talk about Michelle, she's so humble that, like, when she was so excited to be on the top 3, I was like, was that Quickfire really that bad? And she felt like she was like really up and down. And then I remembered how bad that Quickfire was. The fact that one of the judges refused to eat it. So it did add more drama, like you said, is that it add that narrative where without it, Michelle wouldn't be, I don't think, so just overwhelmed with emotion when she was named in the top 3.
Yeah, it's a really good narrative vehicle, I have to say, because it also threads sort of the, because by and large, Quickfire happens, it's over, somebody wins some monies, or they don't win some money, maybe someone wins immunity, and it does have, sort of a presence in the elimination. But if immunity is not in play, it's more of an afterthought. It's almost like you're watching 2 different shows, right? Mm-hmm. You watch the first half and the second half. I do like the continuity it does provide through the length of one entire episode. Danny just overrested his lamb, and lamb is one of those things, right? Like the minute it's like perfectly cooked lamb is delicious. Overcooked lamb, not very pleasant. And apparently it was the latter.
Yeah, dry. And Tom did not like the pepper choice.
Who the hell is Jimmy Nardello, by the way? Who is Jimmy Nardello?
Yeah, we need to figure this out.
Who is that? I don't know who that is.
Hey, Jimmy, let's talk about your peppers. Danny was the labna with the mint and the za'atar spiced lamb. I would have, a B- lamb is better than like A+ 90% of the other meats out there. So I'm okay. I thought he was actually going to be in the top 3 because of the bottom 4, the weirdness of the bottom 4, that they didn't actually feel like there was a worthy third dish to be in the top 3. But of the ones that were in the bottom 4, I kind of felt like Danny should have been in the top 3 if there was a middle ground there.
You were going to talk about Savannah. So tell me about your love of the Savannah corned beef salad.
One of the only things that my grandmother has passed down to me culinary wise is Spam with pineapple, roasted pineapple and Spam. So it's like a Hawaiian pizza almost. She cubed it up and she would put it in the oven to bake, and it would be so delicious. It was, you got that sweet, you got that tang, you got that meatiness. And I didn't know until I was like a teenager why my brothers were laughing as I was like inhaling this stuff. It's because it's Spam. It's a low rent meat. And that's the kind of culinary beginnings I have. That was what my palate was honed in on, was the Spam and pineapple roast dish and one of those like casserole dishes. That's what I grew up on. Rice and beans and Spam and pineapple, Kevin.
This was not your Greek grandmother, was it?
No, this is my grandmother from Richmond, Virginia.
Okay, yeah, that's what that sounds like.
Who I never got to meet, sadly. I never got to meet this grandmother, but it is my father's mother. And that dish was passed down like an heirloom to generations and generations. We are keeping these recipes in the Richmond family, and apparently it's Spam and pineapple, Kevin.
This was Samantha's episode in many respects, right? Even though she she neither won the elimination nor lost the elimination. This was her episode. She was sort of the focal point insofar as she does this ridiculously risky thing, right? A corned beef and beet salad, creme fraiche, pickled celery. What could go wrong? Except what she did right was that lovely thing that happens, and you can do it with chorizo too, where you in the pan, it gets that, you get that crust on it. You get that, It gets just hard. So it has this much more interesting texture, a little crunchy, a little chewy. You combine it with beets, you get this lovely sort of refreshing creme fraiche. You get some acid with the pickled celery and obviously the beets as well. And like, it just comes together. And it was fun to watch the judges. It's fun to watch the judges on Top Chef get surprised. And I think, again, it's not to pick on Manny, but that has been a theme the last couple of weeks. Like, oh yeah, he does his meat and he does his protein thing on top of it, blah, blah, blah. I think what I love to watch is when the judges are legitimately surprised with the decision one of the contestants makes. And that was definitely the case here. I mean, who voluntarily picks corned beef? And then what are they going to do with it? Oh, you're thinking corned beef hash, right? No, actually, you'll do a really refined salad with corned beef. And you'll get the texture right. Like, it was such an inspiring choice. And it kind of paved the episode for her. I mean, she was not only the chef to beat, and I think as other testimonials suggested, like, I think it was Danny, like, she's really, she's cooking. Like, she is. There's that moment, and I kind of, in a post I did this week about kind of sizing up the remaining field, like, I compared it to Chef Adrian several seasons ago, where, she was sort of lurking. She clearly had some technical skills. You wouldn't have ever called her one of the top 3 at any moment in the season, but little by little, she kind of builds up a few wins, gets some confidence. You don't see her on the bottom very often. And the next thing you know, you're on the doorstep of the finale. And that reminded me very much of Savannah's arc here. So she was kind of set up to keep going as we move in to the Door County fish boil.
Yeah, Kevin, excited to hear about that. I felt like she was on a roll going into this fish boil. I mean, choosing corned beef in your draft at number 4 when lamb is on the board. Reminds me of like picking Jokic in the 2014 draft, this blubbery dude from Serbia with the 41st pick. And the number 1 pick was Andrew Wiggins, which, like, that profiles with a very, that's a number 1 pick, like a generic number 1 pick. Like, it's super athlete. His dad was in the NBA, was amazing at Kansas. And he's had a pretty career, pretty good career, all-star and a champion. But I feel like Jokic, that's the 4th pick. She picked the corned beef out of a can and it won the day. There's a lot of risk that goes on in Top Chef. We've talked about it in previous weeks. You have to balance the risk with something you can execute. And here, she makes a huge risk in picking corned beef, but was richly rewarded with not just the number 1 Quickfire, winning the Quickfire, $10,000, and also the ability to draft first in the elimination challenge.
Listener, listen up. This is important, okay? I'm going to try to save you some money here. If you're still overpaying for wireless, it's time to say yes to saying no. At Mint Mobile, their favorite word is no. You may think like, oh, that's bad. No contracts, no monthly bills, no overages, no hidden fees, no BS. Here's why I said yes to making the switch and getting premium wireless for $15 a month. You heard that correctly. $15 per month. Ditch overpriced wireless and the jaw-dropping monthly bills. And of course, there are all these hidden fees and stuff, but at Mint Mobile, plans start at $15 per month. All the plans come with high-speed data, unlimited talk and text. You're not doing like weekend and nighttime minutes or anything like that. And it's delivered on the nation's largest 5G network. Use your own phone. Don't have to get a new phone. Use your own phone with any Mint Mobile plan and bring your phone number along with all of your existing contacts. I switched months ago. People have asked, did you actually switch? Yes, I actually switched months ago, and I don't know what to do with all this extra money. I've cheated the system here. I've rigged something. This is an Ocean's 11 situation where I'm stealing wireless from Mint. That's how good a deal it is. Ready to say yes to saying no? Make the switch at mintmobile.com/dings. That's DINGS. That's mintmobile.com/dings. Upfront payment of $45 required, equivalent to $15 per month. Limited time new customer offer for first 3 months only. Speeds may slow above 35 gigabytes on unlimited plan. Taxes and fees extra. See Mint Mobile for details.
Hello, listener. It's Producer Maze here to talk to you about Quince and their cookware. Cooler nights mean cozy meals at home, and Quince's cookware has made fall cooking so much more enjoyable. Their pieces deliver the quality and performance of luxury brands, but at a price that makes sense. And they look gorgeous on the stovetop, too. No matter what item you need to complete your kitchen, Quince has you covered. With 5-ply stainless steel pots and pans, nonstick skillets, chef-quality knives, and even ceramic bakeware, which is perfect for cozy casseroles or Sunday roasts. And when you look at these prices, you might think, how is Quince doing this? How do they deliver high-quality items similar to high-end brands that are half the price? Well, let me tell you, they partner directly with ethical top-tier factories to cut out the middlemen and pass the savings on to you. And it's not just cookware. I got myself some bath sheets. That's right. When you're a tall man, you have to use bath sheets, not bath towels from Quince. It's like drying off with the cloud. It's incredible. Upgrade your kitchen for cozy fall meals with premium cookware from Quince. Go to quince.com/dings for free shipping on your order and 365-day returns. That's QUINCE.com/dings, DINGS, to get free shipping and 365-day returns. Quince.com/dings. Hello, listener. It's Producer Maze here to talk to you about Kindred. Now, close your eyes like Owen Wilson during a job interview and imagine a way to travel that feels personal, comfortable, and connected without the price tags and the sterile feelings of hotels or short-term rentals. Now open your eyes and stop using your imagination because Kindred has made it very real. That's exactly what they do. Kindred is a members-only home swapping network. It's not a hotel. It's not a short-term rental. It's a smarter way to travel where each stay feels like home. Here's how it works. With Kindred, your home is your ticket. You earn credits by hosting fellow Kindred members, and then you use those credits to stay in over 220,000 homes in more than 100 cities worldwide. There are no hotel costs or rental fees, just the credits that you've earned. Every stay comes with white glove service, 24/7 trip support, and $100,000 in host protection. Make it easier for you to travel and enjoy yourself and not worry about details. I've used Kindred and I found an amazing home for a weekend getaway in an idyllic location with amazing views and great ambiance. It had everything I needed. And the best part was, it cost me $0. So apply now at livekindred.com and use code DINGS to join for free. Plus, you'll earn 5 nights of travel credit just for signing up. That's right, that's 5 whole nights for free at livekindred, KINDRED.com, code DINGS, DINGS, livekindred.com, code DINGS.
So you didn't get a chance to see that. You go to Door County, the elimination challenge, the event, without any knowledge that you're going to see Gregory Gourdet or May Lynn or Sarah Bradley, Justin Sutherland and Jeremy Ford. Like all those people, that was a surprise to you.
No, well, it was a surprise. Now, as a point of clarification, Door County is up in. It's not really a panhandle. You know that little thing that comes off the east side of Wisconsin, the little peninsula that kind of sticks out into the lake. That is Door County. It's up in Sturgeon Bay is the county seat of Door County, hometown of Pack Your Knives subscriber and friend of the show and friend of mine, Preston Schmidt, who used to write for the True Hoop Network, Milwaukee Bucks blog.
Hey, Preston.
Has been a wonderful host to me in Milwaukee. But we did not go to Door County for the actual competition. The competition was held in Milwaukee County.
Oh, okay.
In a lovely little spot in South Milwaukee. There are these bluffs in South Milwaukee that are gorgeous. And if you go down Grant Park Beach in South Milwaukee, it was just a lovely, lovely spot. But it is a Door County tradition, this ridiculous boiling of fish, which sounds like I'm with Dan Jacobs here. By the way, one of my favorite things in this episode was Dan Jacobs' hatred for the idea of boiled fish. He is absolutely right. It is the dumbest thing to do to fish. The good people of Door County, I think, are probably incredible Americans, but what a terrible, not a bad culinary tradition. It sounds like it's a wonderful way to build community, but I think it's a bad way to treat fish. And I am with Dan Jacobs on that. I know this is going to be controversial. I don't mean to insult the good people of Sturgeon Bay and environs, but it's just a really mean thing to do to a dead piece of fish.
I mean, do you really want to get on Torch's bad side?
No.
Dan Jacobs did that. He talked smack in the presence of Torch, and he lived to see another day. So Dan came around a little bit, I would say, begrudgingly saying, yeah, it was okay. The shrimp boil, the fish boil in the end won me over. I don't know. I thought this was ridiculous. I'm talking as a pyromaniac. I have a charcoal grill only because I like to start a fire rather than turning a knob and getting a gas grill. Like, I like the charcoal and the chimney starter and getting that char and the charcoal, all that. I enjoy that. That's why I prefer to do that over the gas grill, because I like to start a fire. Now, this thing, throwing kerosene at the base of these logs, this fireplace, in a windy setting, Kevin, seems like a huge hazard, Kevin. So when you are watching this,
it was a bit dangerous. Yeah, I got a little you could get your eyebrows singed if you stood in the wrong place there.
Yeah, where did you position yourself on this?
Well, I mean, the first couple was kind of fun to be up close, and then it kind of, it was funny because by the fourth one, it was like, yeah. But it's still very cool visual. I have to say, like, look. Cooking is production, it is performance, and it is a really cool set piece. I have to say, it is a very cool set piece to watch the thing go. And as a pyromaniac, you would have been very much at home. By the way, you're correct on the charcoal thing. I use gas here, primarily because I'm just lazy. But I do miss charcoal. Like, I was a charcoal guy. I held out into my early 30s. Then it was like, screw it. Like, I can't be bothered if I'm as much as I cook. So, but you are correct on the charcoal.
Yes, and it's an excuse for me to get out of the house and spend some quality time with myself and peace and quiet from the kids. So, girls, if you're listening, I apologize. Daddy needs some alone time sometimes. So, Kevin, we get this. I don't know how much you knew because maybe you were talking about it at the meal, that how this came to be or the mechanics of this episode. But we get the sixth returnee, the alumni from Top Chef, to sit around, learn about this fish boil. And then, I kind of felt like this draft where there was going to be a curveball. There's going to be a twist, like I thought that they were going to be joining in on the cook, and I was a little bummed. I was kind of hoping that, like, right when they deliver the goods after the shop, they're like, oh, by the way, I'm your sous chef today. They've done sort of those things in Top Chef history where the alumni come back and they're the Sherpa in the kitchen. But I feel like, Kevin, I was kind of hoping to see those tandems cook together. And it felt like, what it felt like to me? It felt like they got the chefs to come on for one episode and then had to, like, retrofit what they were going to do. And doing the shop for the current chef testants, it was cool. It was fun to see, like, kind of the Jack in the Box, what comes out of the shop. But I was kind of hoping secretly that they were also helping out with the cook. I don't know how you felt about that.
Well, actually, it's funny. I was actually hoping that they would shop without consulting.
Oh, yeah.
With the contestant chefs. Like, imagine if Gregory goes and gets your stuff and you have no idea until he gets back what he equips you with. It kind of like one of those challenges where, hey, the first, they do it in teams, it's tag team, and the first person has the 10-minute shift, and then he leaves, and you don't know what the hell they're doing, but you got to figure it out. Like, that would have been kind of cool, is, hey, I'm going to go get some ingredients, and you have got to make it out. Like, that would have been, I think, an interesting, it might have been a little too gimmicky for this late in the season. It dawned on me that this is the kind of challenge that you would normally see earlier in the season, given how restrictive it is, given that it isn't designed to make great food. I mean, the truth of the matter is fish boils just don't produce great cuisine. They just don't. And in fact, I mean, you saw like it was really about the sides. And the other thing you have to realize, though, is given the production of the kerosene and the fire, like you couldn't have done that 13 times. Like they did it about as late as they could do it and still get away with it, right? Like it wasn't going to be a Final Four challenge, but the truth is like it was I can't describe the labor involved in like getting that thing off. I mean, it is a production. These fish bowls are a production, and you're cooking for that many people. It's a major production. But I thought that might have been an interesting twist. Is okay. I thought they were going to send those chefs without consulting the actual contestants, send the old alums out to the thing and say, hey, Shodas is getting what he's getting, and you know what, Savannah, you got to cook it, and that's the way it's going to be. Maylin is going to get what she gets, and Manny, it doesn't matter if she is not steeped in your culinary tradition. She went and bought some stuff, and you got to make it work. That would have been interesting.
Kevin, question for you.
Yes.
Who were you most starstruck by when you saw the alumni there?
Well, it was great seeing our old friend Sarah, because I mean that's who I got to talk with and catch up with a little bit. But I mean, look, as you know, I was a huge Shota fan. I put a lot of eggs in that Shota basket that year. I was still regard his decision to make staff meal curry as one of the great, sort of just kind of almost legendary epic in terms of pathos and everything else. Just like one of the most dynamic, technically adept chefs ever. But I have a huge thing for Shota, and I was very excited to kind of see him from afar. But I got to tell you, I mean, I'm waiting. Maitland has a hot chicken place here in Los Angeles. Nightshade has closed. It was as good a meal going into COVID as like you could get. Like it was so good, and I am waiting for her next production out here because, I mean, I can't tell you, Tom, as a place when you come to Los Angeles, you got to hit. If during that period it was open, but it closed, and now she's. I haven't had her hot chicken yet, and got to do it. It's actually right near my dog grooming place for Howard. It's right by there on Virgil. So I gotta get there. Maybe I'll get there this week. But it reminded me that I needed to get there. I'm not normally a hot chicken guy, but I think she does do the Szechuan hot like chicken at a mild flavor as well. So I should get over there. But that was probably the most starstruck because I think her food is like of that group. Like she blows my mind.
Yeah, I mean, what a murderer's row of contestants to go to one Top Chef event and then have Sarah, Jeremy, Maylin, and Gregory.
Justin Sutherland, who, by the way, he's got to be very happy right now with the Minnesota Timberwolves as a Minnesota chef.
Oh, yeah.
Shouts to him at his full recovery from a boating accident that was really touch and go for a while.
Oh, I didn't know that. Oh, wow.
And so he being back on the show was a really welcome sight and just a great character. And I think he and Danny hit it off well. Sarah Michelle, what a match made in heaven, Sarah and Michelle. How about that?
Yeah. By the way, Justin, if you listen to this, you can make Yellowtail 2 ways for me anytime. You can make it 3 ways, 4 ways, 5 ways. Do not. You're a multi-way guy, and I. It's the one sort of cardinal sin I just will reject. I think 2 ways is fantastic. I mean, as a strategic matter, that's a different conversation. But as a diner, I will gladly. What is better than 1 way? 2 ways. So you can always do Yellowtail 2 ways for me.
You are Yellowtail always.
I'm a Yellowtail always guy. Yeah, absolutely. So I did not know about that, and I know he is a massive Timberwolves guy, and I hope he can find his way to the Target Center at some point during this historic run.
Yeah. So, Kevin, I want to set the scene. Okay. So when we went to a Top Chef event, we were kind of like in this like hangar eating chips and trying to drink as much wine as they fed us as possible to kind of stave off the time. We were just there waiting for a while. And then when it happens, it's like, oh, there's that chef, and there's Padma, there's Tom, there's Gail. And it was super, super exciting. We had a blast.
This event, I've been waiting to ask you. You haven't been able to tell me anything about it until it aired. So what was it like? Tell me about it.
It was really fun. I mean, in that tradition, you parked and they had a holding area, and it was lovely because, again, it was a beautiful day and we were outside in this park. And they had a bunch of folding chairs set up, and there were, Costco snacks, as is tradition when you're being held. Mm-hmm. And there were beverages available. I'm not a day drinker myself. But yeah, we kind of hung out for about an hour and a half. It turns out, again, CJ Krawczyk knew a bunch of people there. There's some folks who actually worked for the Bucks. And he knew quite a few people who'd been invited. And at about an hour and a half, we were then asked to kind of get in a line, and sort of that march that everyone sees is kind of going north along the shore from the park, like kind of picnicky area, to the actual beach sand area, right? And that's what we did. And then they kind of set it up almost like an amphitheater, right? Like the 6 chefs are in this semicircle. You can see them all working. Each one has the placard with their name and what their dish is. You are given, each, I think to keep it, obviously, for the sake of competition fairness, you were assigned 2 stalls, right? Like each guest was saying, hey, you're going to eat at number 1 and number 4, right? And for CJ and me, that was going to be Danny, and it was going to be Dan. We got the Danny Dan combo.
Oh, cool. So CJ got to eat Dan's food at the competition.
Yes.
That's great.
So we got to eat the winning dish. We also got to eat either the second or third place, and Dan's finish on top, red curry coconut broth and things. So that was it. And then I also snuck, because I was so taken by Sue's fish sauce beurre blanc on the placard, that Sue was a little later. I asked one of the producers, like, hey, if after everybody goes, there's still some left, I would love to sample that so I could talk about it in the show. And they were very kind and said, hey, as long as everyone else is gone, like you can go, when the line is literally at 1, you can see if there's some left over, right? And so I did that. But yeah, and then it was like they called them up one at a time, and usually I think it was about 15, 20-minute increments. And we had a great day. And there was an open bar, and we met some great folks. It could not have been a more pleasant afternoon. Like it is truly, when people from that part of the world talk about, no, the weather's actually quite nice. Like, this is what they're talking about, is 75 degrees, a gentle breeze coming in off of Lake Michigan, not a cloud in the sky, late summer. It was absolutely picturesque, perfect. And it was such a fun thing to kind of, again, get to witness the spectacle of the fire, getting to see, getting to catch up with Chef Sep, getting to, quickly say hello to Tom, like that. It was nice. It was a lot of fun. I did get interviewed, and it ended up on the cutting room floor, clearly. They did even a direct-to-camera interview of all my impressions of the food in the event. But they've got better things to do for viewers than have my mug on television. I begrudge them not.
Do you remember what you said?
I am so senile, I don't even remember. But Tom, what was very interesting is, and now I'm free to talk about this. When I saw the field, at the beginning of the season, I was like, I know I was there for the final 6, but maybe I was there for the final 5 because I only saw the 5 chefs that I recognized.
You only counted 5 chefs that you recognized, yeah.
And then I was sort of, I remember asking CJ, or like, do you remember the name? I remember Dan Jacobs because we had a long conversation with Dan because CJ is friendly with Dan. So we went up to Dan as everything was cleaning up and I got to meet Dan, and he just is absolutely charming and gracious in person as he comes across. Just had a really fun conversation, and I thank CJ for introducing me. They obviously know each other from the culinary scene there. But I was like, all right, I remember Michelle because I remember that Cajun boil. I was like, what a good idea. Why didn't anybody else think of that, right? Like, I couldn't believe she was the only one. And then there's Savannah, who I remember very specifically because this poor woman is clearly in pain.
Oh, man.
And there's a point where she's there, and then there's a point where she's not. Like, Danny had moved over to her station, and it's like, where did that woman go? Like, and they told us about the knife incident, and so there was that. And then obviously I remember Danny just because I had his food, and then I did remember Manny because he was right next to them. And then so that was what I remember. But I was like, wait a minute, was I there for the final 6? I can only count 5. Sure enough, Sue was not in the opening field. So, and that was sort of it was so crazy. And it wasn't until they revealed Sue in Last Chance Kitchen that I thought, I'm going completely crazy. I think there was a Korean guy whose fish sauce brown butter or beurre blanc was like one of the best things I tasted like in the entire trip to Milwaukee. Let's talk about Sue for a second.
Whoa. Yeah. Whoa.
I will say this. Let me start with Danny because I got to taste the winning dish. Danny's fish was by far of the three, like in terms of if you were grading purely on how, integrity of this piece of fish. Like it was so obvious, like in retrospect, that he did brine his fish because it retains some sort of flavor. It's so hard to boil Lake Michigan whitefish. Like it's not going to retain anything. It's just going to be limp and bland. And even they even admitted as much. I mean, you saw Tom at the judges' table say, it was a bland piece of fish, right? They expected no less. So it was so clear that he had the most composed dish. The carrot slaw with these little pepita seeds, like these little pumpkin seeds, was delicious. I sort of like the green beans. It was kind of this bonita mayo. It was more like mayonnaise-y kind of, but the carrot slaw was lovely. It was by far the most composed. Though I also tasted Dan's. And though it was a cilantro bomb, I kind of ate around it. It was also delicious. And it was very clear he decided to do something else. And it's very fun now to watch him rail against fish boils as a culinary thing. Because what he basically said is, screw the fish boil.
Yes.
I am going to have these bits of fish. And what I'll do is just make a delicious coconut-based Thai style soup. And he did, and it was delicious. But I can understand why a judge would choose Danny over Dan, because Danny was basically like, you know what? I'm going to brine this fish. I'm going to keep it whole. I'm going to debone it to order. And it is going to be a grown-ass piece of fish, right? And so you can understand. I completely understand. I would probably give Danny the nod as well. And that said, I love Dan's stuff. By the way, his fingerling potatoes were delicious because I got some really crunchy ones that were just in this duck fat, and you could tell the shiso dashi and it had a little flavor, and his peanut slaw was there as well. And then I had Sue, and in defense of Sue, I got there at the very end and basically just got some scraps. He was, I think, out of potatoes. I did get the corn miso slaw. It was a little strange, but I will tell you that fish sauce beurre blanc is something I'm going to be making myself on a piece of salmon.
Yes.
In my house. Gail Simmons is correct. It was by far, it is so delicious. And it was like, and I didn't even realize the pineapple was in there until I watched this episode. I just thought it was a fish sauce. Remember, there was like, there's something even almost sweet. Is that the fish sauce? What is that? Was so delicious. I just want to get like fish and chips and just dip the fish in there. Like it is so good.
Big news. Sephora is now on Uber Eats. So if you find yourself facing a beauty emergency, like needing a last-minute gift, or you're just out of your favorite mascara, again, don't panic. We got you. Order now and get $10 off on Sephora orders of $50 or more on the Uber Eats app. Order now. Offer ends October 30th. One order per customer. Additional terms apply. See app for availability. Delivery fees may apply.
Experience a membership that backs what you're building with American Express Business Platinum. Enjoy complimentary access to the American Express Global Lounge Collection and a welcome offer of 200,000 points after you spend $20,000 on purchases on the card within your first 3 months of membership. American Express Business Platinum. There's nothing like it. Terms apply. Learn more at americanexpress.com/business-platinum.
To your earlier point, Tom, should Sue have gone home? I mean, the fish was fish. It was like a lot of people's fish. It was not Danny's award-winning and winning fish, but it was, it wasn't I didn't find it undercooked. I didn't find it, it's boiled fish, whatever it was. I didn't find the corn miso slaw as offensive as the judges did, but I also can see where he kind of did the anti-Manny, right? Manny just said, a little white rice, little guac, whatever. It is true. Like Sue threw everything against the wall. Is it salsa verde? So it's kind of Mexican. No, actually it's miso corn, but the miso sort of, it's like, or is it curry? Like there is something, he clearly just did not have a unified vision of the meal. And I think, that's just one of those things that pisses off the judges.
I'm sorry. When there's 6 chefs left and you serve me a piece of fish, white fish with a little bit of lime and some rice on the side, you're going home. You're going home. I don't understand how that dish doesn't get sent home. At least Sue tried. He tried. If we're gonna err on, the type of technique that Sue demanded with his dish and the different flavors, and you know what was the unifying thread of all of Sue's ingredients? It was flavor. It was flavor. Look, comparing his dish to Manny's dish, I didn't get to eat either of them. You got to eat one of them. It seemed like to me, if you're going to err on one side of the spectrum, I'm going to go err on I went for it. And usually that counts for something in Top Chef. And I got a little bit from Tom where he was like, hey, there's 6 chefs here. You got to cook your ass off. And this dish right here, it just wasn't bringing it. And I felt like, Kevin, it was, to me, it was almost, I don't know, it just felt like I lost a little something there. I just felt like Sue would have been rewarded for going for it, and Manny didn't go for it at all. He bunted.
Well, and I think one of the additional argument you could make, and again, I didn't taste Manny's fish, and my understanding is I think the beer boil did better work for the fish than Sue's broth of curry and charred pineapple and crawfish. But I think that another argument you can make, Tom, is, hey, either Quickfire matters or it doesn't.
Oh, don't get me started.
Yes, Sue did not win Quickfire. Is Quickfire immunity? In which case, I think, and we'll talk about Savannah in a second. Or is it just a factor? Because Sue was one of the 2 chefs who succeeded in Quickfire. Manny was one of the 4 chefs who failed. And not only failed, but failed with the most impressive cut of meat, the most prestige cut of meat, right? The Wagyu ribeye.
Yeah.
So I think the question is, okay, you've got this new factor. Well, tell me how it works. It works in Samantha's favor, but not in Sue's because she won. So it only matters if you win the Quickfire. Or is it if you're terrible in the Quickfire, it does influence, but not if you're Manny because it wasn't terrible enough, the agua chile. Well, I think that's the question is you make an argument that, hey, it's a toss-up between Sue and Manny. Sue did the sins of commission, right? He did too much. Mm-hmm. Manny did the classic sin of omission. He didn't do enough. Well, I'm with you, Tom. I would rather have a chef go, commit, too much than not enough, right? And, okay, if that's a tie or it's anywhere close to a tie, Manny underperformed in Quickfire, Sue overperformed in Quickfire. And so that's the issue. But I mean, maybe let's talk about Savannah because Tom pretty much just said it. You're lucky you won the Quickfire. So we can argue Manny versus Sue. The answer is who had the worst dish? Neither. It's very clear that Savannah, who absolutely lacerated her palm in one of the worst knife accidents we've seen in Top Chef and really just never recovered. She said it was mental. I have to imagine it's also physical. I mean, you need your hand to cook. It's just a fact of the matter. So she decides she's going to do a broth with a kimchi gochujang. She's going to do a smashed tofu salad with Asian pear, and she can do some potatoes. And she did.
So Savannah, look, a lot of the problems were injury related. She was Joel Embiid playing on a torn meniscus and doing the best that he can. But ultimately, Joel Embiid doesn't get the benefit of the doubt that he had an amazing final 10 games of the season that's incorporated to whether he gets eliminated in the first round or not. Savannah earns that position, earns the right to stay into the competition. And I do feel like Tom's comment was a little harsh. Maybe this is me because I'm a big Savannah fan, but I didn't get the sense that it was so much worse from the comments of the judges table than the others. It wasn't a top dish. It wasn't the best dish, but to say it's a good thing that you won the Quickfire, to me was more about lifting up the Quickfire benefit and just reminding the viewers, hey, the Quickfire matters. She won the Quickfire, and I'm glad you won the Quickfire. He was insinuating that she would have gone home, but would she have gone home? I don't know. It did benefit her, obviously, but it didn't benefit Sue. So, Savannah, props to you. Kudos to you for finishing the cook. Your hand is throbbing. Your brain, like you said, it didn't feel like it was connected to the rest of your body in a way because the pain was so great. And what a badass. I don't know. I don't know how else to say it. The fact that she was even plating after that, I would have just crawled up into a ball and just said, medic, please. And she finished her dish.
Yeah, I mean, it looked ugly. And it is a hazard. And she did, I think it was filleting the fish.
Yeah.
Which
yeah.
actually ended up being a tactical error, I think, in terms of the culinary part of the thing. I think that sort of riddled Tom. And I think the more successful, and again, I think if you want to interpret Manny skating, I think it was that they didn't talk a lot about the fish at the judges' table. There's a lot more conversation in the edit about the sides. But I do think, I think in terms of the fish event, we haven't talked about Michelle in a second, but I think it kind of was sort of like the fish were ranked Danny a clear far and away number one on the actual fish. And then I think it was sort of Michelle, Manny, Dan, they just kind of applauded for, okay, if you're not going to do what they do, hey, you came up with something really just tasty in general that certainly had the fish present. But I think that's sort of the thing. Whereas Savannah, in filleting, which I think is how she got injured, I think the judges would say, hey, it's terrible you got hurt. They would also say it's probably not a good idea to fillet anyway, not for safety reasons, but for cook reasons, right? It's the thing that kind of that holds the fish together. But Michelle, by the way, it was one of those things where, duh. I mean, what is a fish boil? I mean, we know what a crawfish boil, like just do that. Like we know those flavors work in that context, right? We know that if you put Cajun spices and little red potatoes and, in sausage into a boil, it's going to have a lovely, smoky, yummy flavor. And it's sort of like, I'm shocked that no other chef thought to do that. It was such a great choice and it paid off so well. And again, as Gail said, it was the most cohesive of the concepts, right? Which is, hey, we're just going to do kind of Southern summer here. It's going to be all charred corn and peaches and, andouille sausage with Cajun spices. Like it did tell a story. It was, and again, it harkened to a tradition that people are familiar with. They're not familiar with Door County fish boils. They are familiar with Cajun fish boils, shrimp boil.
And I think one of the guests did say that it was a really strong move for her to do a cold side as well. So you had this kind of Cajun spiced shrimp boil / fish boil with the potatoes and the pork sausage, all of that. Like there's few things I love more in this world than a shrimp boil, right? And you just kind of get your hands dirty and you just eat like a caveman, right? That to me is a quintessential summer dish. And maybe I actually had Michelle as the winner here. That was my guess, that Michelle had the winning dish because it was tasty and it was cohesive. But obviously I didn't taste the food, but I actually thought Michelle was gonna be the winner there. But if there was a knock on it, maybe it's that it was too safe, is that it was kind of, all right, you're just subbing out a fish for a shrimp.
I got the sense they loved it. I think This is about Danny. And it was not lost on me that they made a point to mention that literally so we're talking about the 3 regular judges and the 6 Top Chef returnees. 9 out of 9 jurors on the Supreme Court by unanimous decision named Danny. And it has everything to do with that brine.
Yeah.
Buddha Lowe, on this very show last season, I did my annoying little, can you help me with some cooking tips? Because I have you here and you're a real chef and I'm not. And I do it podcast though, so I might as well take advantage of it shtick that I do with these guys. And I asked like, hey, I cannot make halibut taste good in my house, right? And what did Buddha tell me? He's like, are you brining it? Right? And I said, no. He's like, yeah, use a 5 to 10% brine. And you know what? There's a reason Buddha Lowe is Buddha Lowe. And well, Kevin Arnams is a home cook. I started brining not just my halibut. Anytime I have like kind of white, not branzina or, loup de mer. I mean, but you know what? But I've started brining my white fish. And it makes all the difference in the world. And I think what happened, I don't think this was about Michelle being too safe. I think it is about the most technically adept, most talented chef in the field saw what's going on here, which is boiling fish is useless and pointless and is going to make the fish taste like nothing. And you can put all the curry powder you want. You can put all the sofrito you want, blah, blah, blah. Doesn't matter. You better brine that thing in a 10% brine. And you're going to have a piece of fish that actually tastes like something. And I think that is what this competition was about, is one chef identified the challenge, the problem, the technical fix, and had the foresight to do it. And he was absolutely right. And those professional chefs, those Tom Colicchios and Kristen Kish and Gail Simmons, who's as knowledgeable about food as anybody, like they saw it, they love it. It's been a weird season in terms of that, sort of high cooking, and he actually fulfilled it. That's what this is about.
Yeah. And to the other side of the coin, When Tom Colicchio announced who was being sent home, he said the person who was being sent home had a misunderstanding of what this was all about. When he said that line, Kevin, did you immediately think, "Oh, Sue's going home"?
Yes,
because I didn't know, because you tasted the food. Was that an appropriate way to describe Sue's dish? Is that it didn't embrace the challenge, or there was a misunderstanding? Like what about it was like, oh yeah, that's the right comment there?
I mean, I think it was just like, this is a guy who's throwing a bunch of things against the wall. A couple of them stuck. Congratulations on your beurre blanc. What the hell is salsa verde doing on the same plate, right, almost touching a corn miso slaw, whatever the hell that is? And as Tom said, there's not a chef in the world that could have made all of that work. Like, I think they don't like incoherence. And it's great in an LCK fire alarm, which is what, Sue did for several weeks, but they didn't appreciate, like, think that, a refrain we've heard a lot on this season, I'm sure it came up other seasons: does a dish make sense, right? The judges are really into dishes that make sense, and I do think you could make the argument that Sue didn't. Now, again, I'm so crazy about the pineapple fish sauce beurre blanc. Like, it was among the best stuff. Like, I had a lot of frozen custard that weekend in Milwaukee. I had some great meal. I had a epic meal at Caldo Kenzo, courtesy of Mr. Krawcheck. And if you live in the Milwaukee area and you want some good Italian food, Caldo Kenzo every time I go there, it's off the charts. But that beurre blanc was among the best tastes I had in 4 days in Milwaukee. But it wasn't enough to save him. Maybe Gail would have saved him. But I think that's it, is that they want dishes that make sense. And admittedly, it didn't make a lot of sense.
Yeah.
You got French with Vietnamese, with Mexican, with Japanese, with Southeast Asian, with who the hell knows what else, right?
Yeah, but at least he swung for the fences, and Manny had held the bat on his shoulder.
I think he swung at the fences with a machete. I think it's like, what are you swinging with? I think that's the question.
Okay, fine. I'm going to die on this hill that Sue should still be in the competition.
No, I'm not. I don't disagree with you. I want clarification on how the hell, again, Tom, I'm with you. Like, I don't understand how it should be decisive for Savannah, but not for Manny, right? Like, if the issue is it's even close, you've got two chefs who did exceptionally well. One did exceptionally well, one did very well enough to be on the top, and one that didn't, with the best protein in the kitchen. I'd argue I'm with it. That's what I want, is clarification. Either it matters or it doesn't.
Man.
Does it matter for everyone? Whatever. And I think it was sort of like, that's how much does it factor into underwork? Or, you got to win the quickfire and it matters, right? Does it matter for the three people on the bottom, and maybe Manny was only the second on the bottom? Like, do you have to completely serve raw chicken for it to matter? And you have to win for it to matter, or you can cook well and it matters? Like, that's my question.
I think it only matters if you're in the bottom three of the elimination challenge. Your quickfire performance matters. They're going to incorporate your quickfire only if you're in the bottom three of the elimination challenge. Your quickfire doesn't matter.
And that's the argument against Manny.
And here's another argument against Manny. Manny had the first pick, like you said. He had the first pick. You know who had the sixth pick, the last pick? Sue.
Mr. Spam.
He cooked with bologna.
Was it Spam or was it bologna?
Savannah did corned beef with the fourth pick. So she had Spam.
Right.
And Sue had bologna. Okay, sandwich meat.
Oh, I thought it was... Okay.
So Sue had the last pick, and he took that last pick and created a winning dish, top two in that dish, in that event. And Manny had the number one pick and finished in the bottom four. So, I mean, I guess what they're saying, there's this cognitive dissonance that I have here. There's this dissonance here that you tasted the food and it was pretty good. The Sue's dish. You enjoyed it. And at least you enjoyed the pineapple beurre blanc.
Again, the potatoes, they were out of potatoes at that point. The sauce was great. The fish was forgettable.
Sure.
And certainly a far cry from Danny's. So I could ding him there. The crab, the corn miso thing, stuffing, whatever it was, it was kind of weird, to be honest.
Yeah.
I didn't really know exactly what it was doing or what it was accenting. So I get the critiques of his dish. I do. But it wasn't white rice
They said it tasted like a raw casserole, which is a pretty harsh critique, which is tough. And it tasted like a potluck.
Yeah.
You could see Sue just like, oh man, not that. You could have said it just wasn't seasoned or it didn't make sense, but saying it tasted like raw casserole, that hurts. So I feel for him. I was rooting for him to continue on in the show. And we did get, Kevin, a back-to-back Last Chance Kitchen. But before we get there, Kevin, any comparisons to when we went? Any final thoughts on the visit to Top Chef and the event at South Milwaukee Beach?
Yeah, no, it's a different. Restaurant Wars is a different event. I mean, Restaurant Wars actually did approximate kind of a restaurant experience, and this actually kind of approximated of what I imagine a fish boil to be. A bunch of people sitting on picnic tables eating that food on a beautiful lakeside setting on a beautiful day. So it was a totally different experience. Sort of more of that food fair feel. But it was a great time. I'm grateful and thank you to the good people at Top Chef for inviting me. Milwaukee's a great city in late summer. It just is. I mean, I had a ton of fun all around. So yeah, it was a fun experience.
Good. Well, we've got LCK to break down here. And for the listeners, Kevin, you've got Manny, you've got Dan left on your team, and Savannah stays on. I have Danny, who's the top scorer right now with 49 points. Michelle at 44 is right behind Dan. And then 3 others duking it out in Last Chance Kitchen: Amanda, Laura, and Sue on. So there's a Last Chance Kitchen 2-part finale. So if you're listening and haven't listened to it yet or watched it yet, thank you for listening to this episode. Come back later once you've watched Last Chance Kitchen. Spoiler alert, we're going to talk about the Last Chance Kitchen. The first one, we get a little bit of a Kristen Kish pep talk with Tom about what it's like to be in Last Chance Kitchen, coming back. And at first I noted when they walked into the Last Chance Kitchen, there was no peanut gallery. And of course, we know Kalina went home to deal with mental health issues, and she just decided to go home. So I knew that. I didn't know if we were going to get Rasika back. I didn't know if we were going to get Kevin back. And sure enough, they wheel out a table for Amanda, Sue, and Laura to do an all quickfire in one quickfire for the first Last Chance Kitchen elimination. Now, that's flambe. That's the flambe, the hops, the meat raffle, the cherries, cranberries, dairy, and sauce. And I thought what was interesting, Kevin, is you could kind of do like 4 in 1. You could do a cranberry cherry sauce in a flambe. And it almost like hit 4 birds with 1 stone. You don't have to like come up with any sort of weird random thing. It did seem like they kind of went for that. It's like, all right, don't overthink it. Cranberries, cherries with a sauce in a flambe. That makes sense. Now the hops and the meat with the dairy, that could get interesting. The ribeye, Amanda does a ribeye, hop smoked ribeye with a potato puree and a flambe cherry cranberry relish. Makes a lot of sense. Sue did this Thanksgiving meal with this kind of sourdough bread puree, whatever you want to call it, mashed potato, with, of course, the cranberry and the cherry sauce. And then Laura did a Wagyu kebab, baba ganoush with Wisconsin cheese with a hop shug sauce, which shug is really spicy if you get a red shug or something. It is hot. Mm-hmm. And so I was curious to see if Tom enjoyed that. But of the 3 dishes, Kevin, they did pretty well. They availed themselves pretty well in this all-in-one quickfire. And man, I was bummed to see Sue on go home. Man, I think he got a raw deal.
Yeah, I think I got a raw deal. Obviously, in the I don't know that in the LCK it looked like that bread stuffing puree kind of just didn't really work, and Amanda just did the smart thing, and then Laura took a little bit of a risk, but she nailed it. But yeah, I'm gonna be disappointed because I do think he is unpredictable. He is a little bit of a madman, and which is great on Top Chef. Like you just don't know what he's gonna come up with, and it worked obviously to his detriment at the fish boil, and again here. Mm-hmm. When he started putting that celery and carrot crudité on the thing, I was like, ooh. I was like, that's exactly the kind of gimmick that Tom doesn't like. That's exactly the kind of gimmick he does not like. It's cute. Tom doesn't like cute. There's a lot of cute food in the world, doesn't like cute. And that's when I knew that Sue was a goner.
Yeah, I did not like that choice either. It seemed beneath him to just kind of chop up some carrots and celery raw and throw it on there. Crudité. And Amanda and Laura move on to the second part, which is just Kristen Kish. The same thing that she had when she was in the Last Chance Kitchen, Kevin, was cook a really great dish, whatever you want. Just a great plate of food, 20 minutes or Quickfire. Here, the clock starts now. Go make something. And Amanda, I know you're not supposed to eat with your eyes, but it was all the same color. You had this gnocchi with scallops and corn charred onion. She did a shrimp boil basically, and it was all just a lot of beige, a lot of yellow. And so I kind of felt like it was a little disappointing to see that. Not that you need to throw some flowers or floral thing or some pop here and there, just some greens to put, liven it up, but it wasn't her best plate of food, and she said she'd never done it before. What are you doing?
Yeah, I mean, it's an interesting choice. Again, gnocchi at that hour or with that limit is it's a risk. It's a real risk. And I don't know that this is the moment for risk. You're just kind of head to head against a chef that I think you're probably marginally better than. You've been cooking marginally better than. And I don't know that you need to kind of make gnocchi. Like, I just don't, in a suboptimal environment. I just, pasta making in tight spots it just doesn't work out very well. Never does on this show. Laura, I think, did sort of her own brand of risk, right? Zetanjali veggies is sort of like a braised vegetables. So there's no real protein there. Celery root, artichoke, some mushroom. And then she does this creamy crab salad that Kristen really loved. So that it won. And again, I mean, I think in some ways, Amanda went out the way I would expect Amanda to go out, with an absolutely wonderful concept, a shrimp boiled sauce. I mean, Tom, it sounds like food you want to eat. That is what she has been cooking all season long. Food you want to eat from Amanda. But at the end of the day, there was a little wrinkle in the execution, right? Just a little wrinkle. And in this case, the funny thing is, I think that dish might beat the median Laura dish, but Laura cooked her best. And she is going back to the competition where she can steal supplies from everybody or hog the budget. And I look forward to more of that.
Yes, she is back in the competition. So we have a final 6 again. We've got Danny, Michelle, Dan Jacobs, Savannah, and Manny. And of course, Laura is back into the competition. Congratulations to her. We are heading to the home stretch here, Kevin. We have a very exciting guest coming up for the Pack Your Knives paid subscribers. So if you want to listen to this week's interview, make sure you become a paid subscriber, and you get some really great content churning out from Kevin with his written pieces in the past week. So go check that out. PackYourKnives.com on the Substack. This was a really great episode for me to watch, Kevin, and I'd imagine extremely fun for you to participate in. And now we can talk freely about everything. So that's exciting too.
Yes, I am now free to talk because I know nothing beyond this. I knew those 5 of those 6 chefs. I knew it was going to happen, but now I know nothing. I am as in the dark as anybody else. Does that mean I get to take over the trade? I don't know if I think that's not in the bylaws of my board.
You got to talk to Chef's Table about that.
Yeah.
You can't just pull a coup here and take over. You need to go through the protocols. Right now, I am up, just for the listeners, I am up 140 to 114. Yes, May's a Glenn Taylor situation. They might not let you. They might have said, yeah, it was in our bylaws, but you know what? I'm sticking on to this team. We like our Anthony Edwards here. Kevin, you're just going to have to wait. I don't care how much cash you have. 140 for Team Tom, 114 for Team Kevin. You've got Manny, Dan Jacobs, and Savannah left in the competition. I have Danny, Michelle, and Laura still in the competition. So 3-on-3. Kevin, I'm going to still come for Savannah here. I'm going after her. So we'll talk offline. That's all I got, is I got a 26-point lead heading into the home stretch.
For Tom Haberstroh in his 26-point lead. For producer Anthony Mays, this is Kevin Arnovitz, and this is Pack Your Knives.